Colorado's mountain resort towns are in the direct path of COVID-19. The governor suggests at-risk people stay out of ski towns because the hospitals there won't be able to handle a rush of patients. As testing expands, a literal line for the state's first drive-through testing center. We know case numbers will grow, so should your common sense preparations. Colleges call off classes for the semester, diving into the deep end of online learning. And since the St. Patrick's Day parade got called off, what do you say we clear the way for some very proud folks to march through next? Colorado's mountain resort towns could be the first to be hit hard by COVID-19. The governor's asking ski areas to warn off their at-risk visitors, to tell them not to go up there, because high country hospitals might not have the doctors and beds and ventilators to treat a wave of patients. It's rare to hear a politician come out and say publicly what the epidemiologists and experts have been warning about, that even though the vast majority of people who get COVID-19 will be fine, a sizable number of them will need to go to the hospital, and that could overwhelm the system. Polis has said that he's trying to follow the Taiwanese model of largely successful mitigation, which includes really stressing public buy-in, starting with getting people to stay home if sick.
We need you to be part of working with us to do everything we can at the state level to respond to this virus and to reduce the trajectory of its spread. Now, as I said yesterday, there's only so much that any government can do. The most important person who can help stop the spread of the virus is you.
Governor Polis says he will shortly present a plan to the people who are in charge of large public gatherings, sports teams, faith groups, public venues, suggesting that they voluntarily implement safe spacing, 6 to 8 feet between people. Polis's emergency declaration gives him the ability to shut down those gatherings. He's not doing it now, though he said he wouldn't hesitate to take more steps if they feel that's necessary. The state of emergency is expansive. It means that the state could take over the supply of medicines or vaccines, could quarantine whole areas. The governor could even stop the sale of alcohol and guns. Polis is not suggesting he's going to do any of those things. That's just what's in the law. His first emergency order was paid sick leave for employees in healthcare, hospitality, and education, so that they could stay home for a couple of days while they wait on COVID-19 test results. The governor's emergency declaration would allow the state legislature to suspend the current session that's supposed to run through May 6th. The Capitol building draws a daily stream of visitors, and some are obviously in at-risk groups due to their age and or health.
We won't have hearings unless the public can come, and if it just gets too dangerous, it's possible that we would need to suspend session. Right now, we don't have the information showing that the Capitol is an unsafe place to be.
Suspending the legislative session would just mean that they hold those days of work sometime later in the year. The federal government is giving more than $560 million to states, territories, and tribes across the U.S. to fight COVID-19. We now know that Colorado is going to get about $9.8 million of that. That'll be spent across the state, including in Republican Congressman Ken Buck's district, one of 3 people in Congress to vote against the coronavirus aid package. Universities across the Front Range are putting social distancing into action. Today, CU Boulder, CU Denver, Metropolitan State University, and CSU all announced that they are in the process of moving their classes online. It's a big shift that raises a lot of questions about safety, about money, about whether this strategy can actually work when implemented out of the blue. Here's Anusha Roy.
The first announcement came from CU Boulder today that by next Monday they are planning to move class for thousands of students online through the rest of the semester.
The ultimate goal of both protecting our campus, but also reducing the impact on medical services both on campus and in the county.
CU Boulder's announcement was followed by CU Denver, MSU, and in the last hour, CSU, that extended spring break and will move classes online between March 25th to April 10th. None of the universities have confirmed cases, and only MSU said some people on campus were tested but came back negative.
The financial and economic, psychological, and social impact of canceling universities altogether is tremendous.
Nine health expert Dr. Payal Kohli said the plans caught her attention because All the universities are keeping their campuses open. And for all of them, except for MSU, where students don't live on campus, that includes dorms and dining halls. And she's still worried about close contact.
But in my opinion, I don't think canceling the classes and leaving the dormitories and the eating arrangements and the rest intact is likely to have any effect at all.
It's also important to understand that for the residence halls, in many cases, our students, this is their home. And this is where there's medical support, academic support, and those services need to continue.
Students at CU Boulder understand the decision.
Do you think it's reasonable because some people do have autoimmune problems?
But still have questions.
Because we're paying for in-class tuition.
So CU Boulder said that they're still working on the details if people will be getting any tuition refunds or money back if they do decide to leave campus. MSU said that there's not going to be any refunds because students will be still getting those classes online. All the universities are to some capacity limiting big groups getting together outside of class 2. And Kyle, in the last 20 minutes, we just found out that the School of Mines will be moving their classes online by the end of the month too. So they're all kind of on a similar timeline through the end of the month at this point.
Sure, and different places have different setups. I mean, in some cases, students are both learning and living together, and sometimes they're just gathering each day for classes.
Yeah, and Dr. Coley, who you heard from, said keep that in mind, right? Because if you got a closed campus where a lot of people are living on campus, you don't have as many people coming and going as you would on a commuter campus, and of course that would mean the more potential for exposure. And of course all of the universities are upping how much they're cleaning these buildings, especially since these campuses are going to continue to be open even as classes are moving online.
Today was a real day of action, I think, as people start to understand what we're facing. Thank you, Anusha. Why do we trust firefighters to fight fires? Because they are the trained, knowledgeable experts. Epidemiologists, the CDC, and healthcare workers are the firefighters when it comes to infectious diseases. So let's treat them like that. When firefighters show up to a small fire at your house, you don't question why they're there or tell them to come back once your house is fully engulfed. Because the firefighters know that small fires left unchecked become big fires. When firefighters say, let's get grandma out first because she's at the highest risk, you don't dismiss it saying that, oh, grandma's at risk of a lot of things. When firefighters are knocking on your door, warning you of the danger, you wouldn't stand there listing off more common causes of death than house fires. You wouldn't Google, how do you fight a fire? You wouldn't ask your Facebook friends if they think the fire is serious. You also wouldn't look to your favorite politician for the evacuation route. You would listen to the experts who raced to your home and pleaded for your attention so they could help you. You would not dismiss the firefighters if it's only your neighbor's house that's on fire, because fires spread. And when firefighters start spraying water, you have to know it's going to ruin some of your stuff, and you can be upset about that, but you understand why you're making the sacrifice. To save lives. Right now there is a fire. It is small and it is growing. And the firefighters are banging on our door. COVID-19 concerns about public gatherings caused the cancellation of a big announcement at the Capitol about air quality today. It was legislation that's going to deal with our air quality, and they're just going to move this forward with or without the big fanfare today. It's not the first air quality bill that was introduced at the legislature this year. It got our Marshall Zellinger wondering what we're breathing.
The Denver metro area has a beautiful skyline, except when it looks like we're living inside a smog-like snow globe or smog-like 2-liter bottle.
Colorado has struggled with air quality issues since the 1970s.
John Putnam is the head of environmental programs with the state public health department, which could get additional resources if a new air quality bill passes, increasing fees for oil and gas operators to cover the cost to inspect sources of pollution.
That will roughly double the size of our oil and gas permitting, inspection, and enforcement unit.
Is this about air quality or oil and gas?
It's about air quality. It doesn't just apply to oil and gas. So that's coal plants, that's concrete plants, that's oil and gas, that's processing plants and things like that.
Democratic State Senator Steve Fenberg is sponsoring a second bill to address air quality this session. The first bill focused on monitoring 4 specific air toxics. This bill will increase fees to provide the monitors.
We will not probably find more polluters, but we may find more violators of their permits.
We will be able to better catch up with inspection of these sources, keep up with the activity that's already been going on.
Sometimes it's hard to illustrate pollution when there's not a big brown cloud, so thanks to Steve Spangler for making me my smog-like snow globe. As John Putnam from the State Health Department told me, Colorado's air is actually cleaner than it has been in decades. The regulations are stricter, and Colorado's are looking to be tougher on top of that. And you have the focus on oil and gas operations in the state, and that's where the two combine.
And legislators only have so many tools that they can use to kind of go after a problem with. Here they're doing these fees.
They need money to add inspectors, and where can you do that? You don't tax somebody. It's kind of like with roads. We didn't get taxed necessarily, but they install fees on us when we register our cars. Well, let's install a new fee on the operators. Then we can pay with the monitoring of them with the fees that we've just tacked onto them.
It's like reaching into your wallet with the left hand instead of the right. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Marshall. I like that. That's kind of cool. Video shows us how Mesa County elections workers managed to lose more than 500 ballots last year. It's because the employee who locked up the ballot box right outside their main office didn't bother to look inside. We filed an open records request to get surveillance video of what happened last election day. So the employee checks his phone, waiting for the 7 o'clock close of polls. That's the way you're supposed to do it. There we go, 7 o'clock, time to shut her down. And then the employee takes the closed sign and puts that closed sign right inside the ballot box. What's the step we're forgetting here? And locks it up for the season. Did not look inside, where 574 legally cast ballots were sitting there waiting to be collected and counted. They were only discovered this year when elections workers reopened the drop box. The Republican county clerk says that no races were close enough to be swayed by 574 missing votes. No parade? No problem.
Are we proud to be Irish? Of course.
Let's take a moment to celebrate their love and pride for Ireland, even if we aren't able to do a big public gathering for a parade this weekend. And what do you say we answer your question about who pays for highway memorial signs? Answering some of your feedback next. We're getting some feedback on a story that we did earlier this week about state legislators planning to rename part of C-470 in memory of Kendrick Castillo. Matt tweeted us wanting to know why CDOT isn't using its funds for the Kendrick Castillo Memorial Highway. Matt saw that there was a GoFundMe page organized by Republican Representative Pat Neville to pay for this. Neville's one of the co-sponsors of the resolution that passed through the House and Senate this week. It would rename C-470 from University to Santa Fe as the Kendrick Castillo Memorial Highway. Folks driving that stretch would always be reminded of the sacrifice of the STEM School Highlands Ranch senior. He rushed a school shooter last year, saving his classmates and giving his own life in the process. Here's the situation. The state never funds those memorial highways wherever you see them. The designation and the signage are always paid for by gifts, grants, or donations. That's stipulated right in the legislative resolutions. Once the money is raised, checks given to CDOT, and that's when employees go out there and put the signs out. CDOT just covers the cost of their labor. Some of the most powerful people in Colorado's world of medicine were at the state capitol today, testifying against a bill that would create a state public option for insurance. Basically, this would be a new way for the Coloradans who get their insurance through the individual market. They don't like this because it would limit how much hospitals could be reimbursed. They say it would likely mean charging more for people who get coverage through their employers. We asked the president of University of Colorado Hospital if they could just not do that.
I think most hospitals are very cost conscious. We try to avoid that shifting. We've been working with employers proactively to manage healthcare costs. When I look at the employer-based plans in Colorado right now, they're pretty affordable. You know, the statistics show us they have the 9th lowest per member per month premium for commercial members in the country. So I think when you focus on total cost right now, the free market in Colorado is working pretty well.
So there you have it, the view of Colorado's hospital chiefs on your current health insurance.
Hi, there, I'm Kathy Sabin. Another beautiful Colorado day. Sunshine, 60s in the city, a little bit of snow and wind off to the west and way up high, but you're halfway through the week. And the second half of the week, we've got changing weather conditions. Our high today above average, close to 70. It felt great. High clouds, though, are coming in ahead of an area of low pressure cut off from the main flow that's bringing some heavy rain to areas like Los Angeles and Phoenix, Scottsdale, Albuquerque, and eventually that moisture will make its way into western Colorado as soon as tomorrow. Dealing with some wind up north, a high wind warning in Cheyenne, so those headed northbound out of Denver will run into that tonight. Down south is going to be heavy snow with the winter storm watch out, and there could be up to a foot of snow in some of those southern mountain resorts. The moisture will be increasing across the west. There's a front coming in tomorrow from the north. Denver will see a cooler day with a few more clouds, but all of the heavy precipitation that would impact travel will be up over the Continental Divide and through the western slope. So tonight, partly cloudy, little less wind, our low near 40. Tomorrow will be a cooler day, highs 50 to 55 with partly cloudy skies. Tomorrow night, a few rain showers mixing with snow Friday. Very little accumulation, a very mild storm. High of only 40 on Friday. A mild but dry weekend. The next chance for snow coming in Monday into Tuesday. Some light accumulation is possible, but these storms coming in from the west tend to be warm in nature, and sometimes they melt just as quickly as those snowflakes fall. Beautiful shot tonight from Judith Voigt out of Westminster.
They're proud to be Irish, but not so proud that they are blind to what's going on in America right now.
This is the only parade that we're going to miss a parade, unfortunately, but for good reasons, you know.
So we invited them to celebrate here. Next. Denver's St. Patrick's Day Parade was one of the first public events to be canceled here because of the coronavirus. So we figured, why not invite some folks on to next who are just bursting with Irish pride but no longer have a parade to show it off. So make way, here they come.
So there's a picture on the wall there of our first date. It was a blind date. My sister lined me up.
Blind.
And my name is Patrick Maguire. I'm from Drogheda, County Louth in Ireland.
Very proud, yes.
My wife is Anza. She's from County Mayo. And we were married 2 years before we came out here. The first year we came here in 1964, I didn't know anything about the parades in New York. But 1965, I did, in particular because we had young kids. I went to the parade in New York, moved to Detroit area and joined the Hibernians and marched in the parade every year there also. This is walking down Corktown in Detroit. Since I came here, I've marched in 2 parades. This is the only parade that we're going to miss a parade, unfortunately, but for good reasons, you know. It just brings me back to my childhood in Ireland when we used to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, and it's a national holiday in Ireland, and we always went to church and wore a shamrock. And
born on St. Patrick's Day?
Yeah, see, my wife, the fact that she was born on St. Patrick's Day, I guess it makes it a special day. If I don't celebrate anything on Saturday or Sunday, I definitely have to find some place to celebrate my wife's birthday on St. Patrick's Day, that's for sure.
He better remember it, or he's in trouble.
So sweet. Your feedback includes the one thing that I really hoped and prayed that somebody would say tonight. That's next. Tonight, Karen writes in, I have no words to thank you for your analogy of firefighters and the coronavirus experts. It brought tears to my eyes. I am a registered nurse. And Elizabeth, who writes in tonight to say, message was right on. Until today, I was blowing this off as just another flu. Today, reality hit. Elizabeth, I can't tell you how important it is that you said that. No one should be ashamed if they are just now deciding to listen to the experts, the firefighters at the door.